First week in August, Tom Smith, you know what song comes to mind for me?
Dust in the Wind?
That's not a bad guess, actually. Not a bad guess at all. No, first week of August, it means the state fair is nigh. So our state fair is a great state fair. Don't miss it. Don't even be late. Boom, boom, boom. It's dollars to donuts that our state fair is the best state fair in our state. Boom,
I just
boom,
gained
boom.
3 pounds
Our
listening to that.
Fair. Was it the dollars to donuts part?
Yes, it was.
What
3
a
pounds.
weird old expression, dollars to donuts. It's an old etymological thing. It's like to bet dollars to donuts. What it really means is to feel almost certain, that this bet's going to be a thing. To feel so dollars to donuts that our state fair is the best one. It
starting
means
to worry
we
about
feel
you.
absolutely certain that our state fair is the greatest state fair.
I
on the
just
planet.
want to see what they have on a stick this year.
They will have new offerings on a stick this year, my friend. There's always something new going on a stick at the Great Minnesota Get
If it's
Together.
on a stick,
Always.
if it's on a stick, I go for it. And my favorite thing right now is the bacon on a stick.
Yeah.
Which probably is the most disgusting thing you can look at, and it's probably the worst thing I can eat. But it's so good.
It's so good,
It's
man.
like almost eating a pork chop. I mean, except
Yeah, it is.
It's a little fattier, but
That's one of our favorite appetizers whenever we go to Manny's, the land of meat, because they've got this big, thick chunk of, long slice of bacon, but it's thick. It's like an inch by an inch long rectangle. And they do some spices and a slow cook on it, and it just turns into this cured, lovely piece of meat. It's like a giant jumbo meat stick.
I'd probably be happy sitting in one of the beer gardens there with about 10 of those pieces of bacon because it makes you drink for one. And it's but no, I'm kidding. I love the state fair for the food. I'm not into all the other stuff really as much as the food, and I also love the animal barns.
The animal barns are the best.
I love going to the animal barns. But otherwise, it's the food. Otherwise, I don't get into all the other little stuff anymore. I mean, I used to kind of look at all that.
I'm actually really disappointed now that you bring up the
Sorry.
animal barns. No, but you know why, don't you?
Why is
Because of the bird flu epidemic and
Oh,
all the
that's
turkey
right.
farms shutting down. They are shuttering the poultry barn this year, and that is actually one of my favorite visits. Every day that I go to the fair multiple days every year. I love the poultry barn, especially those very poofy-looking, big-feathered chickens and other great creatures they have there.
There's some funky looking ones, but kids really like to go to the pig barn
Oh, yeah.
because
Who
they
doesn't
like
like a pig?
Well, first of all, they like to go and you always know which ones they're laughing at when you see it. They're around the big pig with the big.
You know what?
Yeah,
the cojones.
and they're just
Oh, man, look at that.
How does he walk like that?
Yeah, man, that's just funny. Yeah.
But I like I actually think pigs are cool. I really do.
I love
I really
pigs.
do. And I like cows.
Smart creatures, man.
And I think what probably happened was I dated a girl in high school that was into 4-H. So when she had the state fair, or not the state fair, it was the county fair.
County fair,
County
sure.
fair. I'd go there, and I'd hang out in the barns, the actual barns where they had the animals, which is much smellier than where the exhibits are.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I do. I kind of get into it. I get into the food, the donuts. Now, the Wisconsin State Fair has these really good desserts.
Is that in Madison, then? I don't know where
No,
it is.
the one we go to when we do go, because my wife's from Milwaukee and I'm from Sparta, is there's one down in Milwaukee, and they have these huge, like
Three huges. What?
it's those cream type deals, with what
Cream puff?
the cream puff cereal.
cream puff, yeah.
As I'm getting toward 55, I'm starting to forget words.
No, I got it.
Okay?
I'm here to help you
but
out,
their
brother.
cream puffs are wow.
Sounds Wisconsin. The state motto: "Come and smell our dairy air." It's the dairy state, and so it would come as no surprise that they'd have some kind of puff pastry just filled with delicious Wisconsin creamed whipped cream.
And you know what goes good with it?
What?
A beer.
A beer. Exactly.
Exactly.
There we go.
But I'll tell you, when we go to the state fair here, all the stuff on a stick, we hit it. I mean, and then if there's something weird like alligator or something like that, we always have to try the weird
of
stuff
course,
too.
yeah. Gator's good.
My wife and I are into that weird. It's a weird food. We got to try it, and then the other good part about the state fair is just find a spot, sitting down, and people watching.
Oh, that's the best. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love State Fair bingo. The bingo cards, where, any number of, let's just say human oddities and State Fair type oddities are on the bingo card, and you just cross them off or tamp them or whatever the case may be with your tamper. Maybe you got a tamper, bring it in just like when you're going to your bingo game at Mystic. Bring your tamper.
Well, I used to like going
that's
back.
what they call them, isn't it? Isn't it a tamper?
Yeah, I think it's a tamper.
Tamper.
I used to like going back.
Dauber.
Dauber?
I think it's
I thought
a
it was
dauber.
tamper.
Ink dauber. Anyhow.
Let's call it a muddler or whatever. But I used to like going back when we first started going, when we first moved here. So it was a nickel all the milk you could drink.
Oh, sure.
I found that it's like going to a keg party in college, right? $2 a beer. I found it a personal deal for me to sit there and see how much milk I could drink before I actually got full. Oh, now it's every glass costs money.
Yeah, well,
That was a much better deal.
because they had a lot of young Tom Smiths coming
Probably,
through there looking to build
probably.
up their calcium.
But what's weird is, it's a big thing for the fair when your kids are younger, especially. My kids are grown; they're not into it anymore unless there's a concert they want to go to. That's all it's about, the concert. But to me, it's still about the people watching.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
the
sure
people
is.
watching, and it's just the food.
It's a great sea of humanity out there. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun.
It's a very diverse sea of humanity.
Oh, absolutely. Well, speaking of music, I mean, that Liney Band Shell that they've got, I think Liney still sponsors it, but the State Fair Band Shell always has those great free shows. And by the way, I just love, and it's been for a number of years now, but, when they took the racetrack away, that, upset a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned into a really decent concert venue once they did that. I mean, that really is a pretty nice venue now.
It did, and we've seen a couple concerts out there. I think the last one I saw was, it's probably been a few years. Saw Styx, REO, and I want to say 38 Special all together.
Yeah.
It's probably been 4 or 5 years since we were out there because we go to Renaissance one year, we go to that, then we take a couple years off.
Yep, ping back and forth.
And it is. I was amazed how nice it was in there because I hadn't been there since it was a racetrack either. But we've seen a couple other concerts there before that, and I mean, let's face it, it's always going to be a good venue. But the ones that are on the side, like the Lineys and stuff like that, those are always the ones that are more fun.
Yeah.
That's where you find, I think, the real people.
Well, you see the State Fair Talent Contest on the big band shell stage. You see some of that Minnesota-grown talent a little more so than you do on the big stage at the grandstand.
Now, is 96.3 going to have a booth out there?
Oh, we always do. Yeah, we're down in that corner. It's the radio station I work at. I do the lunchtime show, noon to 1. I do a different show every day on the radio station, a thing called the All Request Monday on Monday. That's what the name implies. A show called The Music Meeting on Tuesday. We invite friends from the community and we judge some new songs together. Wednesday, we do a show called The Year in Review. We pick a year, play a bunch of songs from that year and some tidbits about the history and pop culture going on. Thursday, we do a show that's the gig list show, so we fill you in on upcoming shows that you want to have on your radar, and we'll have some State Fair shows, obviously, as we get closer to that. And then Friday, we tabulate listener votes on our website. They vote on, people can vote on their top songs, and we call it the Connections Countdown. So much like Casey Kasem back in the day, I count it down from number 10 to number 1 on the Connections Countdown.
I think that'd be a blast.
And so we are in that let me get my directions right. We're in the southeast corner of the fairgrounds. So where Como and Snelling meet, that southeast corner, kind of tucked behind the horticulture building, and we're right next to Twins baseball. You know where the bazaar is, the International Bazaar?
And you come in there and the scamps are there, all the scamps are sitting there.
Yep, we're right in that zone, backside of the horticulture building, that corner, and Twins baseball's right we're the radio home of the Twins ball club. So
I actually love
being
the
next
bazaar.
to those guys.
I
do too.
The
Bazaar's great.
Well, I think BT. I think somehow since I figured I'm going to get to the State Fair a little more this year, maybe then since you guys are out there.
Sure, come on out.
We'll talk comp tickets and stuff like that. But
if I do, we haven't charted the course on.
Can we do the show there?
Well, we could maybe do our podcast out there. But let me check on the course of whether I'm going to do the music meeting show out there on the Tuesday of the State Fair run, because it runs Thursday through then the subsequent, Labor Day.
I could be a good
There's
guest.
one Tuesday in there. No, that's what I'm thinking. That you could be a guest on the music meeting show. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm always amazed, like when you go out there and the people that are sitting there watching the shows.
Yeah.
When we first started going out there, they had the Kier 11 barn and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's packed up for it. Now every radio station has their little thing.
Oh, sure, and TV stations too.
And it's amazing. I mean, because you can't. There's nothing you can't. It's almost like going to Fleet Farm. There's if you don't need it or don't want it, it's not at the fair.
That's true. It's true. I've bought hats at the fair. I've bought gadgets at the fair. I've bought knives at the fair. Oh yeah, it's.
I
all
buy
there.
a lot of food at the fair,
and yes, a lot of food and a lot of beer. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of beer at the State Fair.
And when the kids were really younger, I donated a lot of money to the Midway.
Yeah, right on. It's dollars to donuts that we'll be spending a lot of money on stick food out at the fair.
It was a lot of dollars to donut holes.
Yeah, indeed, and that's going to happen again here in 2015. So come see us at the fair. We'll have some fun out there and enjoy your run at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, no matter what it might be. We're also essentially a month away from back to school. I mean, here's the time that we're ramping into all of that stuff too for parents with kids, and their freedom time is soon arriving once again.
Well,
the great collective sigh.
We talked. I know. We talked about this last week. You go to the store, you got Halloween. shouldn't we see more back to school stuff? I mean, I realize it's coming out, but it's just really conflictive to
I
me.
did see some of it already this week. Yeah, we did talk about the Halloween candy and the costumes out last week. Oh, there's back to school stuff out this week already for sure. You know, you just probably haven't been to the store recently.
And well, my kids are older. They go to they all three
So
of
you
them go to college.
you don't
They all go
pay attention
college.
to it as much,
They
right?
all go to college. Well, I know it's because there's things they still need.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
Of course, when they get older, it's more expensive. But, you know, I think back to when the kids were younger. I mean, you always had to go. You had the checklist from the teacher, and if you forgot it, if you were at Target or whatever, they had the list there, and you wanted to make sure you got out the right stuff on the list. And the kid always wanted the bigger box of crayons. And
Oh, the 64 with the sharpener? Come on.
Hey, that's what I had.
That's what everybody wanted.
Oh, yeah.
I got sent to school with nothing more than a 16, trust me.
Oh, no, I
I
had
was
the
always
64.
coveting those 64s, man. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you know what?
Sweet
If
64.
you had a 64, everybody wanted to sit next to you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Can I use the sharpener, man? Can I use the sharpener, man?
yeah.
Can I use the sharpener, man?
That's why I was popular
Yeah, Tom Smith.
for 1 year.
He was known as Tom 64 Smith all through elementary school. That's right. Classes. You were class of
There's a dirty joke in there somewhere.
I know.
We're not
I was
gonna go
trying
there.
I was trying to make one. There
It's
was
all right.
no-
It's all right. It's all right.
There
'Cause
was
we're,
nowhere.
We're a clean show.
In 5 more years, you'll be 60. Well, okay, there it was. I tried to add it in there, but forget
You'll
it.
be 69.
Let's just move on. You know,
God,
what?
I got a long way for that. I got 14 more years.
yeah, boy, oh boy. You don't reveal your age at this point. In
All
time.
right, all right. I'm 23.
23 years old. It's got me thinking about something that came up on the show in brief, and you know, it's not so much about school age kids, but once you get past the college, and then you know into that early 20s, mid 20s time frame, and you know, there's a lot more millennials staying at home with mom and dad. I mean, there's a couple of different ways of looking at it. You could look at it from the perspective of, and I've heard this perspective too. Just a lot of parents really like having their young adult kids at home. I mean, a lot of them.
I love my kids.
I love. You want to cough again, real quick?
No, I'm okay now.
Clear it out again. Are you sure?
No,
Hairball.
I'm good.
Hairball. You know, for some, it's a tough economy still. I mean, we're still rebounding in a lot of ways, and a lot of families are. And for a lot of moms and dads, they're appreciating the fact that the kids are at home, maybe able to chip in a couple $300 a month, or something, at least something, and maybe contributing to the food and all that kind of stuff. So, because the situation can often be when those young 20-somethings get into that first apartment, they don't have all the dough they need along the way, and so what they're doing is calling mom and dad to see if they can short-term them a little money anyhow. So it kind of balances out sometimes to the favor of the moms and dads out there to have the kids hanging out until they really can get moved out and really get secure and be on their own.
Well, and I was looking at in my neighborhood, there's 3 houses that I can think of right off the bat where they have kids in the mid-20s. And I can tell the kids are living there. Now, and I know what they do for a living and stuff like that. I think what's happening is they take a look at what rent is, and they think to themselves, rent's way expensive. I'm not paying that for rent. So mom and dad say, hey, live at home, pitch in, do this, save a little bit of money. Well, it helps mom and dad out because, let's face it, everybody's 401k, if they had one, got hit. So mom and dad don't mind it. They probably don't mind having the kids at home. And it gives the kids an opportunity to save a little bit of money.
Yep.
And all of a sudden now they're going, hey, now I can go buy a property. I have actually seen a lot of 25 and 26-year-olds, and actually the youngest one I've seen so far is 22, buying houses lately. I'm seeing kids that graduated my son in 2009 buying houses.
Yeah, how about that?
And that's weird for me because I know these kids, right?
Yeah, my new next-door neighbor, Bryce, 24 years old, recently out of Augsburg, played football at Augsburg, graduated in 2014, whatever. But he's got a decent job. He sells valves to municipal.
Is his house like the movie Neighbors? Is this a party house?
No, it's not. He's a really respectful kid. I really like him a lot. But, he's 24 years old. He sells valves to municipalities, so sewer systems, water systems. So, he's got a pretty good gig, making enough money to afford his own first house. But, man, at 24 years old, I knew I couldn't do that, and I wasn't able to.
I think 24 years old, I was just a couple years out of the service myself. But
yeah,
I mean, I think that's what a lot of these guys.
In the service
I think that's what a lot of these guys are doing is they're just saying, hey, you know what? Rather than spending all this money, I'll live at home. As long as mom and dad are cool, if I come and go as I want and stuff like that, they're good. And then
be a good roommate.
Yeah,
be that.
I mean, and save a little bit of cash because you look at the rent, like we've talked about on prior shows. Renting's more expensive than owning a house right now.
Exactly.
And the problem is a lot of these kids, if they're listening to mom and dad, think they need 15, 20% down for down payment. So mom and dad have got them convinced to stay at home and save some money. They don't need that much down, but at least this way, when they're ready to buy, they're ready.
They're ready, and if they've saved enough to maybe have 15% down on a $180,000 house or
Wow,
whatever,
is that payment cheap?
well, yeah, you know, but maybe they don't have to spend all that money. Maybe they only put 10% down, but then they got a nice little cushion going in too. You know, because when you move into something, there's always
Couch.
something. You know, and well, you might be able to acquire that stuff, and I think you generally will. What I'm getting at is, no matter where you move in, you know, within 6 months, oh, geez, as much as we thought the water heater was in good shape, and it was, well, you know, you can't tell 6 months later it could fail.
And that's part of home ownership. I mean, and that's where we can get into talking about appraisals and inspections. We'll save that for another show. But, you know, like you talk about, you know, having that extra money, always nice to have some extra money when you move in because you might need something. And we've talked about how even though you're renting or living at home right now, there's things you can start to buy and acquire for yourself that when you own a property, you've got it.
Yep.
But it is nice because I can tell you right now, when you move in that house, there's always something you're going to need. There's always something you're going to want, and you're going to go, dang. So if you can get into a house for a low down payment, like 3.5% down, do it, especially if the payment's affordable.
Yep.
And then you got the cash to maybe put some new drapes up, buy an extra coffee table, buy your beer pong table, pool table, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you know, if you can do this, I mean, obviously save some money, but along the way, it's probably a wise thing to ask for these sort of things for Christmas presents, okay? You're already thinking about getting into a house, you're a millennial, you're staying at home with mom, everything, and mom and dad, everything's fine, but the point is, you know, you're going to make your move at some time in the not-too-distant future. So ask for that nice butcher block of knives, you know, some quality knives. I mean, what I mean by that is this is the kind of thing you're actually going to have.
Nice Cutco set for a couple $100. Exactly.
Yeah, you know, but you're going to have it for keep them sharp. You're going to have it for the rest of your life. You know, you're going to hold on to this through 20 to 30 to 40 years. Well, let me just say that much, you know, at least the next 20, 30, 40 years, you'll use these knives. You keep them in good shape.
And Cutco, not to be weird about it, you can send your knives into them for like $8. They sharpen them. They replace them. My niece, who's turning 18 tomorrow, Natalie Lash, she actually, for her birthday 2 or 3 years ago, got a Shark vacuum cleaner.
See, there's a great thing right there.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yep, that's a great idea. You know, or if you can afford it, or you know somebody can afford it, or they want to chip in, they get the Shark or the Dyson or just something that's a good piece of gear that's going to last. Get yourself a tool bag set up right now. I mean, you think this is weird for me to say it? It's not. You're going to need to have a hammer, some screwdrivers, some pliers. You know, put a flashlight in there, some work gloves, a little crescent wrench, vice grips. A little socket set. I mean, just basic stuff.
And I remember I told you that one. I've done that with each of my kids. I went out first. I buy them a Craftsman toolbox.
Yep.
Craftsman lasts. And okay, I am a Craftsman nut. And so my third child, which is also a girl, so I've got 2 girls and a boy. She's getting ready to go in her first apartment, so she'll be getting a Craftsman toolbox this year. And then I buy a bunch of cheap tools for it. And then what I do is every time that Craftsman has some sort of a sale, I buy Craftsman tools and I replace the screwdrivers or the wrenches or something with that.
And just kind of do the upgrade.
So that by the time they own a home, they've got a nice, decent set of tools. I mean, not like they're going to be handymen or anything like that.
No, but this is basic stuff.
And they've got durable tools that are warranted that if something happens, they're taken care of.
You need a measuring tape. You know you're going to need a little baby level just for doing pictures on the wall.
We're up to a cordless drill for my son.
We'll see, and I was just going to add that one in.
He doesn't know how to use it, but we're up to a cordless drill.
That's the first thing that I would buy for someone after the tool bag would be an 18-volt, 24-volt lithium-ion batteries. Cordless drill kit that's got the charger.
Get the extra battery.
Got the extra battery because it's not just for drilling. If you're going to do any painting, you can get the accessory where you use your drill to mix the paint can.
Yep.
You know, your job is done in 2 minutes rather than you shaking it and trying to make it all happen, or a stir stick. So there's a lot of accessories. You can get the buffer accessory. You can get out there.
Well, you could use it in your mixing bowl too.
I don't know about food service, Tommy boy, but the point is, I was just going to add that layer. And also, if you can find one of those where the batteries are part of an extended package, so that you can use that same battery, those 2 batteries you've got, and the charger unit, and you can slop that into
another
small
tool, like a reciprocating saw, circular
exactly.
saw, yep.
All of that kind of stuff, and then you can just add those things along the way, and you're using the same battery packs and the same system. That's the way to go.
And I mean, my son's got. He's got a pretty full set of tools. My oldest daughter, I bought her first drill finally. She won't use it. She's a little nervous to use the drill, which is fine. She's got the level. She's got the basic set, and we're starting to upgrade her.
Nice.
And now my youngest one's going to go, so it'll be for her too. Of course, my oldest daughter, I want one of those girl sets. So I got her the purple set of tools. I'm going, no, now we're going to start moving to something that's more like tools.
Yeah.
So we're moving her into the Craftsman again. I mean, I like Craftsman's America's tool, I think.
But if that's what she needed to be comfortable with using the tools, then good for her, you know.
And she uses them. She's just recently put a desk together by herself and stuff like that. I mean, so at some point in your life, you need those things in it. And you know what? It sounds crazy, but I've been doing it for a while with these guys.
You know, I'm going to throw this one in here because the thought just occurs to me.
My son has a battery charger.
Ooh, nice. In this IKEA-driven world that we live in.
Don't say that word.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm getting at is it is, and it doesn't matter. I use IKEA in a generic sense like Jell-O, because you buy some furniture from any number of places. You're going to need an Allen wrench, and you probably tossed out that Allen wrench that came with the put it together kit. And if you need to take it apart later because you're moving or you want to put it in the bed in a different room, you got to take the frame apart. You're going to be glad that you got that multiple Allen wrench set, and that one that you needed is going to be a part of that set.
That makes me crack up, ED, because I've done something strange over the years. Ever since we started buying like furniture things where they came with the little tools,
right.
I throw the tools like in a little bag. I have a bag probably weighs about 20 pounds of Allen wrenches and various wrenches and tools. Dead frickin' serious.
It's mostly Allen wrenches.
It's unbelievable. What was funny was one day I was working on my old truck because I got that 93 F-150 and I was doing something. And in my Allen wrench set, my actual set, I couldn't find an Allen wrench.
So you went to the bag.
So I went to the bag. I found one.
I bet you did. It's like a big box of or a coffee can full of screws or nails. You get in there, you'll find the one you need.
That's the other thing I bought these guys. I bought them all like the little box for screws and nails, and I bought like some screws, some nails and stuff, and I put them in the little utility box.
Yeah.
So they've got all that stuff to play with too. So kind of maybe a little overboard, Dad, but I want to make sure my kids can, hey, if they can build it, let them do it.
Yeah, let them do it. And I just love that we're on the same page. That whole, in the Dad Chronicles world, get them started at least with a tool bag or a tool chest that has just that basic stuff. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot. It's, probably, well, I don't know, you can speak to it better than me, but I think I can too. Maybe $100 worth of tools overall. Hammer, screwdrivers, Allen wrench set. Like I mentioned, the level, the measuring tape.
My favorite. Here's my favorite.
Some scissors.
Christmas time. Ace Hardware.
Utility knife. Okay, I'm sorry.
They have the set of screwdrivers that's normally $19.99.
Yep.
And they're on sale for $9.99.
Yeah, you're buying it, man.
You think I'm not there?
You're buying that. You're darn right you are.
And that's how this all started. And, my wife's buying them bedding and things like that. Or nice toaster ovens. I'm buying them stuff they can use.
Yeah,
Come on.
Hey, you know what? I found a really good one. I was at Menards, too. Could be at Depot, Menards, Lowe's. You might find it anywhere. But it was one of those screwdrivers that has the interchangeable stem, and then each one of those stem ends has two sizes of Phillips head or two sizes of regular head screwdriver. So you really get 4 screwdrivers in one. Now, don't get the cheap one. We as Tom and I are talking about here, always invest in the better tool. But I don't think this was a Craftsman, but it was a really good, solid tool. And so there, what we're talking about is suddenly you've got 4 screwdrivers in the space of essentially one. So you can do those kind of things too, and make the job or make the the toolbox. If it's a little bit smaller, you can still fit a lot of tools.
Some of those multi-tool deals like that are pretty cool. I mean, the other thing that I looked at, my brother-in-law was showing this to me the last time. He goes, how come you don't have any of these clamps? And I went, what clamps? All his electrical cords have these little funky clamps around them.
Sure.
And I haven't seen it at the store before. He goes, you're getting a bag of these for Christmas.
Nice.
I thought, these are awesome. I
They
mean,
are awesome.
You roll up your cords.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I was like, oh my God.
All your stereo cords, behind your TV, all that stuff.
I'm like, I need like 200 of them.
That's again, talking about the 20-somethings, that'd be another really great sort of Christmas gift or whatever. First week in August here. I know we're going to be talking Christmas before too long. We're going to have it.
I'm figuring middle of September.
Last week when we were talking about the Halloween candy already being out on the shelf, you mentioned, in another month we're going to see the Santa Claus, chocolate Santa Clauses out there, so it's true. So, that's a great idea. Or a bunch of Velcro straps, or just those little clampy things.
In the old days, we used
this
to
is
use
great stocking stuffers.
We used to use the twist ties,
Yeah, well, that's what we use, right, exactly. Or some masking tape, and then that would get all brittle and crappy over the years.
Now you got the new fancy work wrenches that almost work like a socket wrench.
Oh man, they're awesome.
Oh,
yeah. So anyhow, there's a lot of great tools out there.
I can't go to Home Depot. My wife won't let me there.
Well, I can't go to the tool department at Sears because you're talking about Craftsman. I love Craftsman tools too.
You put me in any sort of thing like a Home Depot or Sears area. I'm as bad as my wife in Target or Michaels or Bath and Beyond.
Right. It's just the dad way of going about things.
And I don't even use half the tools I own.
Yeah, but they're there.
They're there.
And
I got a table saw. I got a reciprocating saw.
you do?
Yeah.
I could use that table saw. I got a project coming up.
I got a table saw.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about
For
that.
the garden?
We'll talk about
Oh,
that.
no, the studio.
I got the studio project. Yeah, I'm working
can
on the
use it.
studio project, so I could use that table saw.
can use it.
Absolutely. I'm going to need to do a little shimming, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And once the studio's built at home, we'll do a little remote. Well, actually, people won't know it, but we'll call it that because it'll be at my house. We'll do a little house cast, little mortgage and BS house cast at the Casa Turner.
We do BS a lot, don't we?
Yeah, well, that's good. You know what? But I think this was really fruitful BS because this thought has been occurring to me as we talked on this thread here about the 20-somethings living at home and how not only on a financial level, when it comes to down payment money or saving for that, and you're still at home with mom and dad, you want to get into that first house, or maybe you gotta you're going to get married and then you also want to get into that first house together with your soon-to-be spouse, and so they're living with their mom and dad, sort of old school stuff. It's a financial thing, but it's also it is a stuff thing, and like you mentioned, the Shark vacuum, and we're talking about the tool bag / tool chest here, and just some other things that you can start squaring away. If there's some cubby holes in mom and dad's garage where you can get some flatware out there, get some dinnerware out there, get the coffee machine already bought. It's a $30 thing, but if it's there and it's bought and it's tucked away and you keep a little checklist of what you've got, when it comes time to move, you're going to be set and ready, at least on a very fundamental basis, to move.
And it all adds up, and especially when, like you said, like a wedding, right? When we got married, we had our list of stuff we want. We still have things we used from when we got married.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 28.
Like Corning,
28 years ago.
Yeah, Corningware and other stuff there.
Our flatware.
Flatware, exactly. We're still using our silverware.
We have bowls. We have our original fine china that we use. It's not our fine china anymore. We still have our original fine china set.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people too, like when you're getting married, they are asking more for the money sometimes too, because they're looking at, hey, let me just get that money and we'll put it together. We can use it to buy a house.
Get the house, yeah. But if Grandma wants to give you a set of all-clad pans, or maybe you freak Grandma
Take
out,
'em.
Or maybe you freak Grandma out because you've always asked for things that were sort of frivolous, and now you're saying, Grandma, you asked me what I wanted for Christmas this year, for my Hanukkah gift this year, whatever. I'd like some all-clad pans. And Grandma's going to go, Tommy, you've grown up.
Cutco knives, man, you can't go wrong with that.
Cutco knives. They replace them. They sharpen them the whole 9 yards.
Pampered kitchen, all that stuff. I got the beef jerky makers, everything.
So kind of start squaring that stuff away. Really think about that in advance of you making a move. Hey, we've got a couple more minutes here. We promised we'd talk about this last week, and I did want to bring it up this week on the show. What's the deal? Are we talking because of the millennials, maybe, and all this narrative that we just brought to the program? Home ownership is at a 50-year low right now. It's a pretty sizable stretch of time.
Well, it's probably a combination of a couple things. It's probably the millennials for one. And it's also people that lost their homes back in 07, 08,
sure.
09.
I hadn't thought about
and
that.
We talked about that with Shannon. And they're just afraid to go back.
Yep, I hadn't thought about that.
They're like, I went through this. They felt it was embarrassing and humiliating, and it shouldn't be because so many people went through it.
It happens.
What's the phrase? Shit happens.
Yep, financial stuff happens.
If you can't control it, if it's out of your control, you can't let it bother you. So it's a combination of both of those things, and that's what they feel is why that. And when you look back at the years, that's when everybody was living at home right after all that other stuff, and it makes no sense because it's cheaper to own a house.
It is.
And while the inventory is low out there, there are houses to be found, and there's houses to be found at great prices.
Indeed. Now, there is something about the seller's perspective that we need to talk about when it comes to a shortage of inventory, and that is they could push that price a little too high and cause some issues with even being able to really unload that house too.
Well, that's one of the things we're starting to see right now is that a lot of these sellers think their house is worth maybe a little more.
Especially given that inventory is tight. That supply versus demand mentality takes over whenever that happens.
And we're seeing some low appraisals. The other thing is there's a checkpoint out there now they put out there that every appraisal that's done is run through an automated system, and it has to be within a certain tolerance.
Some parameters there. Got
right?
it.
And if it's not, it has to be adjusted or justified.
Okay.
What they're trying to avoid is the mess of 07, 08. And I think that's great.
Nice to see that happening because that was a big part of what happened in 07, 08, those false appraisals or those inflated appraisals or people's income levels being justified at low income, high house value and high house price, and that two can come together, and they didn't, and we saw what happened.
Well, and let's face it, a Rambler's not going to comp out like a two-story, and a two-story is not going to comp out like a duplex. your house is worth what somebody's going to pay for it.
Yeah, it's always it. The market's going to make the decision, but you be ready to make that decision by talking to a mortgage expert like Tom Smith here.
I know a few guys, too, besides me.
Indeed you do. So reach out to Tom at AMEC. Give us your email address real quick.
Let's see. The regular AMEC one is tom.smith@amecinc.org.
I say AMEC, but AMEC, yeah, AMEC.
Or omsiguy@gmail.com.
Sounds good.
Or 612-386-7672. That's the best and easiest one.
There you go. My name is Brian Turner. You can call me BT. He's Tom Smith, mortgage expert and good friend of mine, and we do the Mortgages BS show every week here on the Alive and Social Network.
I want donuts.
Donuts and something on a stick. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks for listening.